Alright there folks, welcome back to the channel, and today we're all about the drop shot. It is autumn, it is getting cooler, the fish are being a bit more finicky, and in my opinion drop shotting is a fantastic way of winkling out some bites even on the toughest of days. And I'm going to show you my rigs, my tackle, how I go about it, and hopefully we're going to get some fish on the bank. And I just missed one then. Awesome. Right then, so drop shotting is one of those tactics that is just fantastic. You can use a variety of baits. Today I'm using worms, but I have got my soft plastics with me as well, just in case I feel it needs a change. But to be fair, a tub of worms, everything eats worms, and you'll be surprised what you can get out on drop shot. You can fish this in a variety of venues as well. Canals, rivers, ponds, anywhere really where there's fish, drop shotting will work, and it is such a simple method to use. So tackle wise for this session, what I'm using is a very light tipped fast action rod, and this is the Spiro Freestyle Litz Ultralight. It's weighted at 10 grams, and this is just, I find it perfect for drop shotting. It's got a nice sensitive tip, and that is perfect for highlighting those little tap bites that you tend to get, especially with drop shotting using the worms. With a jig bait or a swim bait, something like that, you can kind of, they'll savagely attack it, but with worms they would tend to be a little bit more finicky, so you get the tap and then strike basically on that. Now paired with this rod, I've got the Okuma Seamar CXT 25 reel, and this is a perfect size. It's balanced with this rod absolutely perfectly, and that is just loaded up with some nice light 10-pound braid, and that is going down to a 6-pound leader, which I'll show you in a minute. And the hook on there, I've got a nice size 8 specialist hook, a nice wide gape. It's perfect for a lot of baits, including the plastics. And on the business end, right at the very bottom, I've got a nice chunky tungsten weight that's about 5 grams, and it's perfect just for tapping it along the bottom on this river today. We've had a bit of rain, it's still a little bit raised, and it just hugs the bottom perfectly, and that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to touch the weight on the bottom, so you'll be able to jiggy bait correctly. Now what I tend to do is I'll let the weight hit the bottom, and then I'll give the bait some slack line, and then I'll lift it up and just jig that tip, and then I'll just pause. And it's sometimes on that pause where you'll get the bites, especially when you're using plastic baits. The small fillet baits and stuff like that work really good, as do the small paddle tails. Creech baits especially work fantastically on the drop shot, and if needs be I might put a couple of them on a little bit later on in the session. So the idea is just to jig it along the bottom, and you can just jig it, pause, bring it in a little bit, and again pause just on that bottom. And you're kind of working it, but a lot slower than you would normally. And in winter it's a perfect presentation because the fish aren't as aggressive. They'll still feed, but they're not as aggressive, and this drop shotting is just such a relaxed way of fishing. I really do enjoy it. You don't have to cover a ton of ground either, because you can pinpoint exactly where this is going to go in your swim, and you can kind of cherry pick the best areas and just drop it in, even sometimes right under your feet. You'll be surprised what is lurking there. Especially if you've got loads of cover and stuff like that, places where you wouldn't necessarily be able to flick a jig head, you can drop in your drop shot, and it is just fantastic. One thing to bear in mind though, when you are drop shotting, depending on how far your weight is from your hook, depends on where your bait is going to sit, how far you cast out. So generally as a rule, the further you cast it out, the higher you want your rod tip basically. Because then that would lift the bait off the bottom where you want it. You can buy ready-made drop shot rigs, plenty of places do them. I tend to find that they're a little bit too bulky for the type of fishing that we do in the UK. They may work on the bigger fish venues. If you're targeting pike especially, then definitely they're worth a go, but for the stuff that I tend to do on the rivers, which is targeting the perch especially, then I prefer to tie my own, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Right then folks, so getting this rig sorted out, what we're going to do first of all is use I tend to use about 3 foot of fluorocarbon, so get a good length for that. Okay, pop that in there, and then the first thing we need to do is get that hook on there. So the best knot that I found to do this with is the polymer knot. Now if you've not seen the video that I've done on the polymer knot, I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video, so definitely go and check that out. So what we're going to do is today I'm just using the Specimen hooks by Drennan. These are a size 8. I found these are really good, particularly for worms, and they're a lovely strong hook as well, because we all know those perch have got proper bony mouths and we need a good strong hook to be able to set it properly when they do strike. Right then, so I hope this shows up properly on here, but we're going to thread that through, okay, and then we're going to pop that back through there. So that is on the looper line, okay. It doesn't matter too much about the tag end because that is going to come into play a little bit later on. So put all that up there, need a bit more of that. So I tend to do it so the hook is roughly in the middle of this leader, okay. So there we go, the hook is on there. What we're going to do is we're going to make a loop. I want to pop that through the loops there and then over the hook, so the hook comes back through and out, and then just give that a bit of a lick, moisten that up, pull it nice and tight like that, and there you go, and that is your polymer knot on the line. And then what you want that to be able to do is when you've got your leader and you're pulling it tight, that hook, there you go, that hook should stick out nicely on the edge like that, so it's like that, okay, and that is basically your leader. And then what you want to do on the bottom end of that is attach your weight. Now these weights do come in a variety of shapes, variety of sizes. They're all going to pretty much look like that, or little circle weights, and you want to hook it into that little eye there, like so, and then just pull that so it cinches on, and that actually hangs on the line like that, and that basically there is your leader, and that is what you're going to be fishing with. That hook will sit like that. We just need to adjust that slightly, so we just need to move the knot on the eye. There we go, out without getting it in my finger, and there we go, and that is set perfectly with your weight at the bottom, and that is your drop shot rig. Now then, with this I've got that set about what, a foot, maybe 14 inches, depending on the depth and depending on where I want to fish. All I simply need to do is unclip that, push it up closer to the hook if I want to fish a bit deeper or closer to the bottom like that, and if I want to shallow that up and I want to fish higher up in the water column, I'll just drop that weight all the way down to the bottom of that leader. But that is basically how you tie your drop shot rig, and it can't really get any simpler than that. And the beauty of this is as well that there is an absolute ton of ways of attaching your leader to your main line. Okay, I'm using the Albright knot today, but you can do a loop to loop, loads of other different options. There's tons and tons of videos out there with all sorts of different rig options on there, so I would definitely go and check them out if you're unsure which one is going to be the best for you. Now bait wise, again, it can't be any simpler. As I've said today, we're just using some lovely dendras. They will catch everything on the drop shot, and you might get a few surprises as well, so be ready for those. The other option as well is just to use some small plastic baits, your little paddle tails. You can use little creature baits. I've used them in videos recently and they've caught fish. Even little frogs, look, they work brilliantly as well. And it's just a matter of chopping and changing, trying and seeing what works on the day. You're not limited to using small baits either. You can use big jigs and big like fillet baits and stuff like that for pike, especially on the canals. The world is your oyster. There's no real hard and fast rules with drop shotting. It's just a fantastic way of getting some fish on the bank. So that's the rig and the tackle that I use. Let's go catch some fish. So I'm just casting it into that, there's a bit of an overhanging tree, just casting it onto the edge of that. Cover is always great. Just feeling that weight on the bottom and just giving this bait a bit of a twitch. Can give it a pause and then another twitch as well. And this is fantastic, and if you're fishing with an artificial bait, you can cast it out. Keep your rod tip high. The further you cast it, the higher that rod tip needs to be, so it keeps the bait suspended. That is a top tip. I can't emphasize that enough. Also, try and make a note of where you're fishing and what the bottom is like. There's no point fishing, say, at 6 inches if there's 2 foot of weed. You want to be able to adjust it so that bait sits above the weed. Especially if it's an imitation, like a fry or a cray or something like that. Just helps the fish find it easier, and it stops you getting snagged up as well. So just jigging it along, just bringing it in ever so slowly towards me, and pausing, just jigging it again. This really is a relaxing way of fishing. It really is. If you're fishing with jigs, you can fan cast and cover a lot of water quickly, whereas with this it's a lot slower, it's a lot calmer. And you can be really methodical and just drop this bait into any likely looking nooks and crannies and stuff, especially around structure. There's a few boats a bit further up. I'm going to go and target them in a little bit. If you've got any questions at all about drop shotting or anything, drop them below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them for you as quickly as possible. And if you're enjoying it, give us a thumbs up as well. Likes are free, you know. Right, I think we need to just change location. What the hell is that? tiny little stickleback, look. Just found him washed up. See you later, buddy. Mega. Right then, so we've moved locations and we're just near some boats, bit of structure. More than when we were before, and hopefully there'll just be a few more fish. But the advantage with the drop shot is that we can search out and we can really explore an area, especially on a river or a canal, stuff like that. You can drop this into places where you wouldn't be able to present a jig bait properly or a little swim bait. So it's a really good option, and it's brilliant tactic in winter when it starts to cool off. The fish are moving a bit slower. They're not really aggressively targeting stuff. It just gives them a bait that they want, really. There we go, he's on. Yes, there we go. Oh, he's a lovely perch. Lovely perch. There we go. Absolutely. Love that. There we go, another little beautiful autumn perch on the drop shot. Fantastic. Just felt the slightest little tap then as well, and I weren't entirely sure what it was. Just trying to keep a nice tight line. This is where the braid really works well. It just amplifies those knocks. Oh, straight away. Yep, there we go. Another one. Absolutely fantastic. And there we go, nailed it again. Brilliant. It's that same worm. So yeah, one point to note is when you're fishing at a bit of a distance, it's always best to keep the rod tip up so that bait's not dragging along the bottom. You want it just off the bottom or wherever you've set your weight to. And again, as I was saying, the braid just helps amplify the bites and just helps set the hook, especially with perch, because they've got such bony mouths. You've got to make sure that your hook is mega sharp. Every now and again, and just bringing it a little bit closer, just jigging it across the bottom, making sure that line stays nice and taut. Stuck on something then, and just switching that tip, just imparting that action into that bait, giving it a pause, just let it settle, and then just giving it a little bit of a twitch again. Oh. It started swimming straight towards me, that one. Excellent. Excellent. There we go. Whoa. There we go, another one, bang in the top lip. Mega. And you can't argue with that, I mean, absolutely. Look at that. Fin perfect, beautiful colours, autumn perch. Absolutely fantastic, let's get him back. See you later, buddy. Right then, so we're just going to move down. I've got one little area that I want to try, and fingers crossed there'll be something special down there. Right then, so we are right back in town, more or less. I've never fished this little bit before, but I'm always quite fancy it because it is really, really deep at this side. Mega shallow near the wall just there, but I think just on this little bit of deeper water just in the edge would be a prime place for a perch to be lurking, definitely. So we'll see what happens. So if you're enjoying the video, give us a thumbs up. They're free after all. Tucked right in this edge now, right in this edge. Ah dear. I should have maybe sat over there, but never mind. Oh, there we go, fish on. Oh yes, he's a beauty as well. Oh, there we go. Oh, in the net. There we go. Lovely, lovely perch. Nailed it. So the hook's out, net is saved, and there we go. Nice drop shot stripey. What an absolutely beautiful fish. Let's get him back. See you later, buddy. Right then folks, there we go. What a nice fish to end the session on. I'm more than happy with that. I really, really hope you found this useful and of some benefit to you as well if you've not done it before. Like I said earlier, if you do have any questions about it, drop them in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And I'll catch you all next time. Cheers. Lid of my worms has just blown into the river. I've got nothing to put them in now. Ah, genius. Genius. Only happened to me, that.